So, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out a picture of his daughter Chloe in her Halloween costume. She was dressed as a New York City cop, and she had her little bucket with half her candy in it. It looked like, it was half filled, and she had this sort of like sad look on her face. Oh, I can make it. Yeah, I can make it. That's perfect. Okay. Almost ran a red. Anyway, so he tweeted out a picture of Chloe with her bucket of candy, and it was half full, and she had a sad look on her face. And the quote said, I took Chloe's candy, half of Chloe's candy, and gave it to a kid that stayed home and played video games. Never too early to teach her about socialism. Anyway, it was funny. I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny, and I think a lot of people who probably in my same political mindset thought it was pretty funny. But Ricky Gervais, who I also follow on Twitter, wasn't very happy about it. He made a comment about it. Saying, "Oh, look at the poor look on the kid's face. It's terrible. What a terrible household to grow up in," or something, words to that effect. Anyway, to which I responded, "Dude, it's a joke. Relax." And I guess he probably got a number of those responses because he came out with a subsequent tweet. Excuse me, saying, "Relax, folks. It's just a joke. It's never too early to teach children about the evils of sharing." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're missing the entire point. Socialism is not about sharing. Giving out candy at Halloween is about sharing, right? That's a charitable act. That's giving a donation to a little kid who wants candy on Halloween. It's a ritualized thing, but that's sharing, right? You're sharing your wealth willingly. You're not forced to do it by society to give candy out to little kids, right? Socialism is about an authority figure saying, give us half your shit, we're going to give it to somebody who has less than you. You don't have the option. There's no socialist country in the world where you have the option of not participating. Even in Canada, where we're not like a full-on socialist dictatorship, but we've got a very robust social safety net, I don't have the option of not participating in our system. I can't opt out of paying into CPP or EI or any of the other... What's this clown doing? Oh, he's broken down. I don't have the option of not paying in any of the other social programs that we happen to have. Yeah, maybe you could pull forward a little bit, you fucking clown. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, I was just kind of flummoxed by him, like, no, Ricky. I tweeted back. Of course, he's not going to read my tweets. Implying socialism is about sharing. This is, I guess, the great marketing trick of socialism. Don't you want to be helpful to the poor? Don't you want to be nice to the poor? Don't you want to, give some of your money? You've got all this wealth. Don't you want to give some of it up to people who don't have as much? That's just the nice thing to do. It's sharing. Not when it's done by under threat of force. Not when it's done by coercion. That's not sharing. That's robbery. It's extortion. Is what it is. So I think when we talk to socialists and people of that particular wing on the political spectrum, we need to start framing shit in the same way that they frame to us. Say, why don't you like freedom? Why do you hate freedom so much? Why do you hate, why do you think it's okay to take things from people by force? There's this thing I saw, I think it was on Minds, it said, no, it was, what's his name? Penn Jillette was talking about it at I think it was some conservative, libertarian speaking engagement. He was talking about how he became a libertarian. And he said, person he used to work with asked him one time, "Do you think it's okay to punish people who've done nothing wrong?" To which Penn responded, "No." To which his friend responded, "Well, then why do you think it's okay to reward people who've done nothing right?" And that's the crux of it, right? Like, when you look at social programs, when you look at taxation in a manner that's redistributive, where you take money from the people who have it, or a progressive tax system. I argued with somebody yesterday about a progressive tax system too. When you take more money from the rich people to give to the poor people in the form of welfare, food stamps, what have you, you're basically taking from the people who've done nothing wrong, and in many cases probably did plenty right because they're successful, right? They played by the rules. Became successful business people or became successful in their careers. And you're taking their money and you're giving it to people who've done nothing right. By and large, the people who are on welfare, by and large, the people who are poor, are there by their own making. They're not there because of, chronic bad luck. No, people make poor decisions. They don't finish high school. They get involved in crime. They get involved in drugs. They're shiftless. They don't hang on to a job. Those are the people who are on welfare. Those are the people who take advantage of social programs. We don't live in a robber baron society anymore. We don't live in like it was in peasant Europe, where the peasants are just subjugated by the nobles. It's not how it is anymore. There's economic mobility up and down the spectrum, intergenerationally. People who are rich one generation, their ancestor or their forebears, their offspring, they can very well easily go down the next generation. And people who are poor one generation, by the end of their life, their children could end up being rich. This is what's called economic mobility. And you don't have it in a feudal lord system like was in medieval Europe. You do have it in a free market capitalist system. And it's weird. It's almost like socialists decry the evils of capitalism because they view it as this sort of feudal lord society where the rich just get richer and the poor just get poor, and all these stupid bits of rhetoric that they throw out. When the reverse is true. And what they advocate for is more akin to a feudal lord system, where they want the state to control all the wealth and to distribute that wealth evenly amongst everybody. And nobody has any say, nobody has any impetus or motivation to do better, because if you do too well, they'll just take all your fucking money. Anyway, it's just disingenuous to hear people talk about how socialism is just about sharing. It's not. It's coercion, it's force, it's theft, it's robbery, it's extortion. Years ago, charitable organizations, mutual societies used to take care of the poor. The government got their hands in on it, and now those charitable societies, those mutual organizations, Optimist Club and Lions Club, they do less and less and less all the time. They used to build hospitals, and they used to build orphanages, and they used to build, put parks in place. They used to make parks. Now that's all done by the government. And an expanded government has shown that it just can't do it properly. It's not the purview of the government to manage all the wealth in a country. Anyway, that's just my rant about it. So fuck you, Ricky Gervais, and Don Jr. That was pretty funny. Thanks.